Alright, what's going on, everybody? Manic Recurring here. Just going to go over some of what's going on in the astrology for March 21st. And I think I'm going to end this on March 27th just because I'll cover this week, and then there's a full moon on the 28th. So big things happening then. I'll get into that next time. But how's everybody doing? I know I've been super sluggish, and it's been a struggle just to make this video. And everyone I've talked to today feels really sluggish today. I don't know why. I do think there's some weird stuff going on in the astrology, though, and there's some stuff which kind of sets up the backdrop for this week. But before I get into that, just some things going on in the background. So first of all, we're in the middle of a very long period where all the planets are going direct. All of them are going moving forward. So we're very much in uncharted territory. New things happening, new themes coming up. We're probably not integrating everything thoroughly. We're not experiencing everything very thoroughly just because there's so much new stuff going on, and that's to be expected with a time like that. So everything is very much moving forward. It's full speed ahead, and as if that weren't enough, the sun is now in Aries. So happy spring, everybody. Happy spring equinox. I know I'm a day late. It was technically March 20th, but it was the equinox, which means 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of nighttime everywhere in the world. So very unifying, very important. It's a very much a transition time because we moved from the last sign Pisces to the first sign of Aries. So there's renewal there. We're feeling recharged, usually experiencing much more energy at this time with the sun now exalted in Aries. So happy birthday, Aries, everybody, and everyone in the northern hemisphere. Happy springtime. So this is very much a time for beginnings, and again, all the planets are direct and we're experiencing this. So get out there, start stuff, start a project. It's definitely a time for beginnings, okay? And definitely time for action, very action oriented. So that's just going on in the background. Also, we do have a couple of the inner planets in detriment now. So, the sun is exalted. Sun is in Aries, so very, very strong, very potent, very much go time for the sun. But I do want to just mention Mercury's in Pisces, and if you watch my videos at all, I'm very Mercury ruled. I call myself Manic Mercurian for a reason. That's my planet. That's my guy, and it's in Pisces now. I experienced Mercury transits very literally. So, yeah, that's why I've not been posting very much. That's why I'm feeling lethargic today. I do not do well with this transit. I don't know why. I just don't. Mercury. I'm bringing this up because our thinking processes might not be super clear right now. Fortunately, this transit is only about 2 weeks long. I think Mercury will be in Pisces for 15 days. It's very quick. Mercury is done being retrograde. It's totally out of post-shadow now. It's very much moving forward. So this will be a brief transit. So that's good. At least in my perspective. But yeah, so the reason why Mercury's in detriment and in fall there, it's the only planet that's both in detriment and fall in one sign. So that just shows how, severe this is. But the reason why it's in detriment and fall in Pisces is because Mercury is supposed to be all about quantifying things. It's our mental processes. It's how we prioritize things. It's how we see. It's about sort of judgment, I guess, assessing something and going, okay, what's my priority here? How should I best utilize my time? Is A more important than B? Is B more important than C, etc.? Pisces isn't so much like that. Pisces is kind of just appreciating everything, or maybe appreciating everything on different levels, but on a subjective, in a subjective way, or it has very subjective criteria. It might judge something small as being big, or it might judge something big as being small. What I mean by that is, like, let's just take like this pen that's in front of me. Pisces might be like, this is the most important thing. It's like beautiful. It allows me to write it. I can do anything with this. It can just take one little thing and just totally go off on a huge tangent with it. And it's not wrong per se. Those things are valid, but it's sort of coming at it from a poetic standpoint, or maybe a spiritual standpoint. It's almost maybe a little bit psychedelic in a sense, just because it's saying, any little thing is equally important in the universe, like the butterfly effect. It's stuff like that, okay? And again, all that's very valid, but it's not the most functional when it comes to processes involving Mercury. So our thinking processes, like that kind of thinking is valid, but it doesn't really get us from A to B. It's not productive. Mercury wants to quantify things. So if our quantifying ability is on that level, that can be good, again, for spiritual endeavors or maybe creative endeavors, artistic endeavors. But for being productive or, for more mundane, everyday things, our abilities are kind of dampened there a little bit. They're kind of inhibited because, again, our reasoning ability and our perceptions are distorted at this time. Okay, and this is something that sometimes we don't even experience it as it's happening, or we're not even aware of it as it's occurring to us, but only afterward. Once Mercury goes into Aries in a couple weeks, we'll realize, it's like you wake up and you realize, like, wow, what even happened? It's like I was drunk for the last couple weeks, or asleep or something. Okay, so we're all a little bit drunk, we're all a little bit asleep with Mercury in Pisces. Speaking of that, I've got my Pinot here, getting me through the day. Okay, so I just wanted to mention that. In addition to that, on this day, I said there's some things happening that we're setting up the backdrop for the week that are happening on the 21st. One of those things is Venus entering Aries. So now Venus is in detriment as well. So not only our thinking ability is a little bit disenfranchised or distorted, but also our desires and our displays of affection, our affection and our desires are distorted as well with Venus in Aries, because Venus is in detriment. But this might be even more significant because Venus is it's preparing to pass the sun. It's barely traveling faster than the sun is, so it's very slowly catching up to the sun, and it will make a pass and a conjunction specifically on March 26th. But we're basically experiencing like a 2-week plus conjunction between Venus and the sun. So Venus's energies are infused with the sun's energies during that time. So that makes this Venus in detriment pattern even more dramatic, I guess, or more tangible. With Venus in Aries, we might want things that we can't have. We might desire things just because we can't have them, or we always want more during that time. It's a very dopamine fueled transit, in my opinion. Venus in Aries, yeah, it wants what it can't have. It's rarely satisfied because it always wants that new thing, or it wants something challenging. And Venus in Aries can sometimes want something just because of that. Just it wants that chase or that hunt, that experience itself, or that trying to get something it can't have, or trying to win the situation. And none of those things are typically long lasting, and that's why it's a detrimented position. You don't get those more stable feelings of contentedness with Venus and Aries. Also, it's more selfish. So while Venus would usually be more empathetic and more maybe feminine or more graceful or receptive, in Aries, it's really not those things. Aries is a very masculine sign. It's very outgoing, and it's more selfish. And so Venus, it's a different side of Venus. It's not it's not the typical side of Venus, with Venus in detriment there. So our desires might be a little bit selfish. They might be a little bit overblown. We might be a little bit overbearing, or maybe a little bit overly blunt, maybe, especially with our communication kind of muddled in Pisces. We might be maybe not very clear, but also too blunt at the same time. So you've got some kind of dysfunctional energies here with Mercury and Venus in detriment. So I just want to point that out. And let's see here. I think that pretty much sets me up to begin. So let's just go for it. So, okay. So typically when I do like a weekly reading like this, a day will stand out to me to be the most volatile. And for this week, it's the first day, Sunday, March 21st. So if you're watching this, maybe this day is already passed. I'm making this about halfway through the 21st. But so it might be too late, but I would recommend just kind of lay low at this time, just because it's extremely volatile. So first, you're adding all the planets direct, also the sun's in Aries. These things are generally a little bit volatile. Again, you could tend to start things, but it's so easy to start things that many different situations could begin at this time, and they might not all be harmonious with one another. Do you get what I'm saying? So like good things could be beginning, but also maybe not so pleasant things, or maybe just things which have different agendas which are clashing together. So there's just so much activity overall that it can be very dysfunctional, and you can have a lot of clashes in energy. So I already explained all that's going on. Now combine that with the first quarter moon in Cancer. I always pick this out because over the last several years since I've been paying attention to this, to me, it always seems like a crazy, hectic day. There's always something chaotic going on, and I can explain why. So first of all, with the first quarter moon in general, to me, that's the most chaotic part of the lunar cycle. I know everyone's more aware of the full moon, and for good reason. You know, people are more. There's more accidents then, maybe more people in hospitals. They say, more things going on, more parties as well. There's just more activity. It's a culmination. So I don't discredit all that. It's definitely a very active time. But at the same time, I would argue that the first quarter moon is actually all that and kind of more. It's just because it's so edgy. There's so much. The moon is squaring the sun, so it's a contentious relationship. It makes us anxious, restless. It promotes us to be active, and so to utilize this transit effectively, you want to get out and make a change something in your life. If you're feeling restless, anxious, stressed, maybe bored, it's because this energy is it's pushing you to make a change in your life. You've got to change something. There's something that's, grinding your gears that you have to make some kind of adjustment at this time. So that's basically what it's pushing us to do. So, again, now we're combining all planets direct. We've got the Aries energy. We've also got the first quarter moon. And now let's combine that with the sun's exalted in Aries and the moon is in domicile in Cancer. So we're not just combining, the sun and the moon squaring, making a 90 degree angle. Both of them are extremely potent in the areas that they're in as well. Both are very strong. So both would clash together, but both would be extremely powerful and clashing. And that's why this seems extremely, what's the word? Turbulent, dramatic, maybe theatrical. Also, there's so much fire and water that we're combining at this time, and those elements don't really blend well together. Fire and water make steam. Everything gets confusing. It gets muddled. It gets chaotic. Not only are we combining the watery Cancer moon with the fiery Aries sun and Aries Venus, but we're also combining Mercury is still lingering in Pisces. So if you mix a little bit of Pisces, a little bit of Cancer, and mix that with Aries, it's very chaotic. How do you satisfy all those energies? They all want completely different things. Pisces is more reflective. It's more turning inward, wants to kind of maybe reminisce about the past or kind of integrate things. Aries is not about that at all. It's all about steaming full speed ahead, going forward, starting new projects, being very external. So you can't really combine those. It's like combining oil and water or something. Except more explosive, I guess. They don't work together. And then plus you bring in the Cancer moon, which brings out our emotions. Also extremely emotional. Fire and water are the more emotional elements. Both Aries and Cancer can be very emotional, but in very different ways. Cancer is just kind of all around emotional. It's more feminine, more focused on others, maybe more empathetic. Sun and Venus and Aries, though, is just focusing on our personal desires, what we want. And, that's clashing with Cancer, bringing up issues involving emotions in general, family, or, those who are close to us. So yeah, it's just kind of a big mess, honestly. It's still a good time to start projects, but again, it's very dysfunctional. So it's hard to say. I would advise maybe just lay low today to avoid the chaos. However, at the same time, it still is a good time to start projects. You do at least have to change something. So, like, maybe home improvement would be a good thing. Like, somehow lay low, but also start a new project, if that makes sense. So, like, maybe if you could stay home and, like, clean the whole place, or, I don't know, it's hard to say. Or somehow start a project, but just... Oh, excuse me, hold on. If you could somehow start a project, but maybe just go through all the steps multiple times to make sure everything's in place, just because Murphy's Law definitely applies here. There's going to be so much going on, so much room for chaos. I would just want to, take the advantage to start something new, start a project at this time, but just be extra careful. It's hard to, just I have lots of double checks today, I guess. Okay, so that's the main pattern. There are a couple planetary aspects today, though, occurring as well. So in this chart, you can see Mercury's at 8 degrees Pisces, and it's making a sextile to Uranus at 8 degrees Taurus. This is kind of a tricky combination as well. So first of all, you're bringing Uranian energy into the mix, which just makes today extra unpredictable. It also creates room for epiphanies or realizations, and but it's making that aspect through Mercury, which again is in detriment and fall. So there's something dysfunctional about our thinking processes, about our communication, but somehow in that dysfunction there could be some kind of realization to be had or some kind of breakthrough. I'll let you just think about that for a second. That's all I'm going to say about that one. But then the other aspect that I just want to touch on is Mars is in Gemini, 10 degrees, and it's trining Saturn at 10 degrees Aquarius. So this adds more fuel to the fire in a sense. And I think it adds a lot of ambition to the mix and adds yet another reason why you can start a big project at this time. So again, recap real quick. All planets direct. Sun in Aries. Mars trining Saturn. All of these things, and the first quarter moon, all these things are giving you a reason to start something. Maybe something kind of big. So I'm just going to end it by saying this looks like a day for starting things. I would just also be cautious because there's a lot of clashing energies. Yes. Okay. Moving forward. Let's go to March 22nd, tomorrow. Whoops. This looks like a continuation of the 21st, really. Nothing's really moved. No planets have changed signs since yesterday. On Monday, the 22nd. Moon is continuing to go through Cancer, so it's no longer squaring the sun by degree, but it is squaring by sign. And so it's sort of a continuation of the 21st. I think Monday could be more intense than Sunday just because it's a Monday, and if there's more people out and about, more people working, maybe then you could experience that chaotic turbulence, maybe more so. But as for the planets themselves, it should be still definitely applicable with the moon still pretty much, it's in the sign that's squaring the sun, but because it's not an exact aspect, so it won't be quite as pronounced. But again, you might experience it more just because if we're all more active, depending on where you are, what you're doing, you might experience more of that turbulence then. But other than that, there's not a whole lot of difference, so I'm not going to belabor it. Everything I said before pretty much applies to Monday the 22nd as well. It's just really a continuation of Sunday. And again, maybe you're doing something different, but still the energies or the themes or, what's happening is a continuation. So again, good time to start projects. Also a lot of turbulence though. So that's all I'll say about that. So let's go forward to the 23rd. 23rd, late on the 23rd. So in the US, it'll be evening sometime when the moon enters Leo. Whoops. So let's just go to, let's just see the moon entering Leo. And that does mark a shift, and I actually kind of like that just because you're still mixing some, there's Mercury in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces. You're still mixing that water with the Aries sun, so the water with the fire, which is really turbulent and, kind of chaotic. I like this better, though, because the moon in Leo, it's beginning to trine Venus and the sun in Aries now. So that already is creating a much more peaceful atmosphere. There's still all that. I would say it's just as energetic on Tuesday, the 23rd, as it is on Sunday and Monday. The couple days leading up to that, it's still just as energetic and it's still just as good of a time to start a new project. But you don't have as much of that clashing energy, and so things kind of get more steady. Maybe a little bit more reliable, and I think it's a good time. Maybe it's a better time to start a project just because you don't have that like Murphy's Law variable to take into account. Like you don't have to be quite as cautious, I think, going into Tuesday the 23rd, just because the moon is in Leo. It's beginning to trine the sun, so it's much more steady, much more easy. And with the moon trining the sun, it's like a day or two that's just usually it's kind of peaceful, it's easier. And because things are easier, we can kind of use that one of two ways. Either we can kind of just sit back and relax and take advantage of that easiness and just be kind of lazy, or we can work extra hard and get extra stuff done. So either way, there's no judgment. But if you are trying to work hard, be productive, this looks like a really good day to get a lot done. Or if you're just having fun, or like I was thinking, if you're trying to plan a vacation, the 23rd looks nice. It looks like an opportunity to have some fun maybe. Before that, the 21st and 22nd, I think planning a vacation or going on vacation just sounds like a nightmare. There's so much clashing energy. It just sounds totally chaotic. So like that, not as good for having fun really. But 23rd looks a lot, just as energetic, but maybe a little bit more peaceful. Better day for having fun or being productive. Yeah. So, and then we do have Mercury squaring Mars. Mercury's at 11 degrees Pisces. Mars is at 11 degrees Gemini, but it's actually more than just that because the nodes are at 13 degrees of Gemini and Sagittarius. So Mars is approaching that conjunction with the North Node, and Mercury is approaching a square with both the nodes. And whenever a planet squares the nodes, it's a sort of turning point. It can be very uncomfortable. There's sort of an ambiguous feeling of being unsettled because things in our lives just aren't fitting quite right when a major planet is squaring the nodes. It's like something's just off. But going into that experience will sort of usually it'll be an unpleasant experience, but one which gets you back on the right track. So Mercury, especially since Mercury's squaring a planet there, of course those planets aren't exactly aligned with the nodes, but I just think it's so close. It's only 2 degrees away. And also with Mercury being in Detriment in Pisces, there's just something problematic about our thinking or communication processes. Something problematic, but maybe it's leading us to some kind of major adjustment that we need to make in our lives that will actually contribute to the betterment of our lives, if that makes sense. So maybe some kind of positivity, but it comes from an uncomfortable or problematic situation, something having to do with our thinking, communicating, or just the pace of our lives, our daily habits, stuff like that. Something is problematic there and it needs to be adjusted. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. So, and this will apply from the 23rd to the 24th because, again, like I said, Mercury is still approaching the square of the nodes and Mars is still approaching the North Node conjunction. But because Mars and Mercury are at least, making that aspect on the 23rd, that definitely begins that theme, and it will continue through the 24th. And I think on the 25th for that matter as well. Yeah, so 24th, Mercury and Mars are still at 12 degrees of their respective signs, Mercury in Pisces, Mars in Gemini. So they're still pretty much, making pretty much an exact square and getting very close now to those alignments with the nodes. So all that definitely applies on the 24th, and I would say 25th as well. 25th will be when they exactly line up with the nodes. But other than that, not much on the 24th. Sort of like how the 22nd was a continuation of the 21st. There's a change on the 23rd with the moon entering Leo. And then the 24th is kind of a continuation of the 23rd because sort of like before, the moon is no longer exactly trining the sun, but it's still in Leo, so it's trining by sign. It's, Leo is very similar to Aries, so there's a free-flowing energy between the moon in Leo and sun in Aries. Let's see what else. So yeah, you still have that steadiness. There's a lot of energy, but it seems relatively harmonious on the 23rd going into the 24th. You also have Venus is now at the same degree of Aries that the sun is in. So our desires are very much coming to the forefront. They were already pretty relevant, I think, since, like I said, the Venus was pretty much conjunct the sun, at least for the last week, and it will be continuing to do so for the next week. But starting on the 24th, it's getting more pronounced with Venus getting, making even tighter of a conjunction with the sun. So maybe, again, those kind of distorted desires, or just be careful that you might want something that we might want things that don't really give us happiness, or our desires might be kind of ungrounded somehow, so just watch out for that. Other than that, though, things are pretty steady with the moon in Leo still sort of trining the sun. Okay, what else? And there's no exact aspects. Let's just go forward to the 25th. Moon's still in Leo. Let's see here. And you've got, so now that aspect I was talking about earlier, Mercury is exactly squaring the nodes earlier that day. 25th, yeah. And then Mars will exactly conjoin the North Node on the 26th. Let's just go forward to that day. I don't have a whole lot for the 25th. Okay, so the 26th is interesting because, like I said, Mars is exactly conjunct the North Node. So definitely time to take action of some sort. Might be an action related to our friends, family, neighbors, siblings, just acquaintances, coworkers. Gemini is a very social sign, so Mars conjoining the North Node in that sign promotes us to take action involving others in our lives, changing, especially with Mercury making those squares to the nodes. I think maybe we have to change our habits somehow, change how we relate to other people, or how we are communicating. Maybe we're communicating too much or not enough, or maybe we want to change our communication style, or maybe just change our perceptions about something, change our thinking habits. It's something to do with our habits, or our, maybe especially thinking or socializing habits that could be changed or updated at this point. I think especially on the 26th. There's definitely a Mercurian influence with Mars conjoining the North Node in Gemini, and also the Moon entering Virgo. So I think definitely a time for adjustment, since those things are coming to the forefront along with Mercury and Pisces. So it's a time of change, of adjustment, maybe going back over something. But still, we're moving forward, and we're also focused on our desires. Like, this whole week is kind of a mess, in my opinion. But Venus is still conjunct the Sun. I think Venus exactly conjoins the Sun at 5 degrees Aries on the 26th. But again, it's such a gradual conjunction, since Venus is only traveling slightly faster than the Sun, that it will experience this over a longer period of time. But it's exact on the 26th. So, again, distorted desires. We might be being a little bit overly selfish, maybe, or just wanting things that aren't really appropriate, or wanting things that wouldn't truly give us joy. So I guess just watch out for that. The whole point of this is just to be aware of those things, because none of those things on their own are necessarily bad. It's just how we sort of go about them or temper them, I guess. So just be aware of all that. Moon entering Virgo, it will be approaching oppositions with Mercury and Neptune, so that can make us feel a little bit ungrounded. It's good to do something with your hands or get out in nature, so something where you can kind of decompress. That always helps with Moon and Virgo. Just because, lately it's opposing planets in Pisces. People say it's a good time to clean or get organized. Those are typical Virgo things. Usually, though, if when the Moon is opposing the Pisces planets, I would say it's a time to decompress, maybe just relax. If cleaning is stressful to you, I would avoid it on the 26th when Moon is in Virgo. But if it's something, if it allows you to decompress, and if cleaning can be a little bit relaxing to some degree, so if that's how it is for you, then by all means go out and do it. But if it's just another stressful chore, then I would say maybe do that if it's needed, but also take time to go on a bike ride, or walk in nature or something like that. So do something decompressing, or something of that nature with Moon and Virgo. Other than that, that's pretty much all I have. So going forward to the 27th, there's not a lot of aspects. You've got the Moon making that exact opposition with Neptune, and with Mercury for that matter, earlier in the morning on the 27th. So again, everything I just said before, I would say it's a time to decompress, time to do something relaxing. You could still be productive, but it's got to be something that maybe already, where you can kind of do it without really thinking about it. That sort of thing, where it can also almost be kind of relaxing to you. So anything like that in your life would be really valuable with those oppositions between Pisces and Virgo. So that pretty much ends it, and that just prepares us for the 28th, where we will have a full moon in Libra. So I'm just going to leave it there. This is just meant to be a quick kind of update, but I'll see you for the full moon in Libra next week. So good luck. All in all, I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I'd say it's a great time to start things. Utilize that. Start something new this week. Just be a little bit cautious. There's a lot of clashing energies, and also just be aware. Just be cautious with your thinking and your communication and with your desires, because all those could be a little bit ungrounded right now. But as long as you're just kind of giving yourself a double check, it is a really good time to start things. So that's all I'm going to say for this week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.